I think Colorado was one of the most talked about bad teams in the history of college football in 2023, and that will probably continue in 2024, regardless of if this team is good or bad. Of course, they came out of the gates, surprised everybody with that win over TCU, and looked like, they look like potentially a top 15, top 25 team early in the season, but then things didn't go that well the rest of the way. But you look at 2024. And before we go game by game on these predictions, just some thoughts on this team. Offensive line was a big concern last year. That's where we'll start. And I think they'll be a little better this year, but I still think that's a concern. And then the running back room, I brought in a couple of transfers, guys that really have not proven a whole lot. Losing Dylan Edwards, that's going to be a big deal, but the passing game should be really good. So it's going to start with the offensive line, protecting Shedeur Sanders, and then these receivers, they're going to be really good. I think the offense will be good again. Really no reason to expect them to be bad on that side of the ball. Can they be as good as last year? We'll see. But, I think it's going to be an explosive offense. And if the offensive line can take some steps forward, it becomes probably one of the best offenses in the country. That's going to be the big key there. And then you look at the defense. What really stands out to me is if you look at the starters for Colorado's defense, they actually have the players, the potential to be pretty good on that side of the ball. Now, depth is a big concern. So if you have some injuries or you get later in the season, I think the defense could definitely start to fall off. But again, their starters, I think, are going to be very solid. And I think, again, if this team can stay healthy, they've got a chance to have a much better season. Vegas, higher on Colorado, but still, their over-under win total is just 5.5 wins. So expected to go 5-7 or 6-6. And it's crazy the way people talk about this team. You'd expect this was a team that was a playoff contender. But no, I don't think they're a playoff contender. But I do think they have a chance to be a good bit better than they were last season. And just playing in a conference that I think is going to be a little bit easier this year compared to what the Pac-12 was last year, that's going to help Colorado out as well. They were close in a lot of games against good teams. They had a chance to win some of those games, but they also lost to some bad teams or barely beat some bad teams. So it was a weird season for Colorado. We're going to start here with week 1, of course. North Dakota State, August 29th. This is one of the better FCS teams in the country. And I'll be honest, I don't know a ton about North Dakota State. I don't really follow the FCS all that closely. But yeah, we know they're going to be a team that's competitive even against a team like Colorado. And I think the spread for this game was single digits. Colorado was favored, but it was less than 10 points. I think this Colorado team should, especially early in the season, be firing on all cylinders. Again, depth, like I said, might be a concern, but their starters are going to be really, really good. And I think they will win, but I think it's a competitive, close game. I got them getting the win, though, and starting 1-0. They play Nebraska the next week. I think that people underestimate how tough that place is to play. I know Nebraska just has not been very good, and it's been easy to beat them at home or away. It didn't really matter, but that's a tough place to play. It's a revenge game for Nebraska. They're going to be solid across the board. They're going to have an advantage, I think, at the line of scrimmage in this game. I think they'll probably want to slow it down more, run the football, keep this game from turning into a shootout. Colorado, of course, they're going to want a shootout. I think, though, Nebraska's defense will step up. Again, playing at home, big game opportunity for them. I think Nebraska gets some revenge, gets the win here over Colorado, but a very close one. Then the next week, Colorado State on the road, September 14th. You wonder, you look back at that game last year, who would have thought that before the season started, if you had said that Colorado State was going to be one of the best games of the season, because it really was. That was a great game last year. But you wonder if Colorado, because of their hot start, maybe they overlooked Colorado State a little bit, and Colorado State's definitely a team that wanted it more. They were the underdogs there. I think Colorado, especially coming off of a loss, will be much more focused and prepared for this game. It is on the road, but I think Colorado wins an easier game than what they had last year. So I'm going with the Buffaloes to get the win there. They play Baylor the next week, September 21st at home. This is a game where, I think Baylor's at the line of scrimmage is not as good as they've been in the past. So I don't think they're going to have a big advantage there, something you might would have thought a few years ago. And I don't know that they're going to have the defense that's going to be able to slow down this Colorado offense. I think Colorado scores a lot of points in this game, and I think Colorado wins. So 3-1 start, getting a win there in their first game in the Big 12. They'll play UCF the next week on September 28th. This one should be a good one, and if you like points, I think you're going to see a lot of them in this game. UCF's weakness is going to be their offensive line. I actually think, again, the starting unit for Colorado on the defensive line is going to be good, and I think they're going to have an advantage there. And so if they can get after the quarterback, make some plays in the backfield, they could possibly slow down this UCF offense just enough to go on the road, and I say get a win. So Colorado, upset win on the road at UCF. They get to 4-1. Then they play Kansas State, and this is one of those interesting matchups when you've got the speed and athleticism of Colorado against the power of Kansas State. The coaching, they've got a great coach. Their coaching staff's done a phenomenal job. So it's which style will win. I've had a really hard time with this one and trying to decide. You go back to last year, Michigan, that physical style, it worked for them. They beat some of those more spread teams. But I think Colorado's receivers are going to be a problem in this game for the Kansas State secondary. If the offensive line can give them enough, I think Colorado wins this game. I'm going to say they win at home in a close one, a very close one, to get to 5-1. Then you've got Arizona the next week, October 19th, on the road. This is going to be a shootout. This is just going to be a shootout. Both teams very good on offense. Defense, maybe not great, but okay. I just think the offenses will be better than the defenses in this game. I'm not saying the other team's going to have a bad defense. But yeah, I think the offenses will be better than the defenses. So I think we see a lot of points. This one will be a shootout. I think we're going to see back and forth. But I like Noah Fafita in this Arizona offense. And then playing at home and those linebackers they've got to make a few plays. Arizona wins this one. Colorado drops to 5-2. Next game is against Cincinnati at home. Cincinnati's going to have a pretty bad defense. Maybe they score some points and keep this game interesting for a while. But Colorado will pull away and they'll score a ton. Give me the Buffaloes in this one. Next up, we've got Texas Tech on the road. This is going to be a good one here. Texas Tech's going to be a sneaky good team this year. And at the line of scrimmage, I think they're going to win this game up front. And I think they've got enough weapons on offense that they can score. Enough playmakers on defense to get a few stops. Playing at home, I like Texas Tech to get the win. So Colorado drops to 6-3. Play Utah next on November 16th. And it's kind of the same deal as the Kansas State game. You're talking about, a physical type team, a power football type team going up against the spread attack, the speed of this Colorado team. I think they probably either win both of these games or lose both of them. They're both at home against, like I said, similar styles. I'm going to say Colorado wins them both, and that's really going to be the difference. Those two games, if they can win them, I think they're going to have a really good season. If they lose them, might not make a bowl game. And again, I do think it'll come down to those two games. I think they're going to need to win those two games if they're going to, or at least one of them if they're going to get to a bowl game, because they play Kansas next. This is another team that's going to be able to score a lot of points. A shootout here. I think Kansas, with their veteran team, they find a way to get the win here. And again, depth for Colorado after playing a physical game against Utah. That's going to be a tough matchup. I got Kansas winning there. And then they close things out with Oklahoma State on a Friday at home. I just think this Oklahoma State team is too good, too balanced on offense. I know everyone talks about the run game. I believe Alan Bowman and these receivers are going to have a good year. And their defense, I think, is going to be pretty good, especially in the back end. And that's going to bode well against a team like Colorado. I like Oklahoma State to win this one. So that puts them at 7-5. Which is over the over/under there, of course, and is that's a good season from where they've been the last couple of years, and again, even last year in year one under Deion Sanders, that's a good season. I think Colorado fans should be happy with that. All this talk about them being maybe like a playoff team or something, I don't see that happening. And again, they could lose to Kansas State and Utah, and maybe even UCF, so it could definitely go the other way. But I think they get some big wins. And it's enough to get them to 7-5. But what are your predictions for this team? Let me know down in the comments below.